this shit crank.
Welcome to the Melanin 360 podcast. I am your hostess with the mostest, Jeray. And I hope you all are doing well out there. I hope y'all are staying safe and staying sane and doing all your self-care and all that good stuff. And I hope y'all are ready for fall because summer's gone. She packed her stuff and she left. She is out the building. So, as we head into this season, I hope you all are, getting cozy and getting ready to start y'all's New Year's resolutions and come up with the list of stuff y'all gonna leave behind for 2020 because it's about that time of year. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce my guest today, Miss Ayanna Roberts. Yes, newlywed. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for being here with us today.
You're welcome.
And so today, you guys, we're going to do a 2-part episode, and we're going to be talking about the pathway to property ownership, and specifically what that means for Black people and people of color, and why it's important, and why we should really be thinking about owning property, and how that can create generational wealth, and what that looks like for us where we are today. So, but before we get into that, on the Melanin 360 podcast, we always start with the question, because of course we want to get to know our guests. So, Ayanna, what is your favorite 90s hip hop and R&B song, and why? I can't wait to hear this, y'all.
Okay. So, my favorite 90s R&B hip hop song, 8 Ball and MJG. Oh. Don't Make Me.
Yes.
You know that bring back memories.
Yes. Oh my gosh, y'all. So in case you don't know, I've known Ayanna for
20 plus.
21, 22 years.
Yeah.
Something like that. So this song, this brings back a lot of memories. This is before
TC.
Yeah.
And what was the pink car name?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I drove a Ford Aspire. Yana had a Honda Civic, and our other girlfriend had a Toyota Corolla. And those were the cars we used to roll in back in the day. So this song right here, nigga, this song right here. This song brings back so many memories. But yes. And I'm not going to sing it. I ain't going to do that to y'all.
I can't. But that's my song. Like sometimes you got to play that. When you hear that, like, listen, I think I'll back off.
Yeah, no, it's about to go down.
Yeah.
It's about to go down.
Yeah.
But you know what, though? Seeing as though that you're a realtor and that's your song, that makes me feel like you're going to go hard in the paint for me.
That's right.
When I buy my house, right?
Yes.
That makes me feel like you're going to go hard for me to get that deal.
Yes.
So I'm excited about that. See how your choice in music helps us learn a little bit about you?
Listen. Mm-hmm. Look, I try to keep it low key, but I do like my ratchet music.
Yes. So with that being said, I'm going to share my song this week. So, normally I choose a hood song. But today, I tend to, so when I'm in my car and I'm listening to the internet radio, or my iTunes has a lot of 90s stuff on it, right? So this is how I kind of come up with my songs for the week, just kind of whatever's playing. So I was in the car and I heard this song and it took me back. I don't really subscribe to the meaning of this song. I just like it. And so He's Mine by Moke and Steph. And so looking back, that song is so ratchet.
It is.
It's very ratchet.
It is.
And I was reading online and somebody was saying that it was the precursor to SZA's song, The Weeknd. And I was like, it is. This was like the 90s version.
Because
90s version of that song.
And then, he's yours
on the weekend. Yeah. And I hate that song now, right? So being older in a relationship, like, no, we not doing none of that.
But I'm going to still sing it.
Yeah, like that song came out in 95. I was like, what, 15?
And I'm going to still sing it real hard.
Yeah, I ain't know nothing
real
about
hard.
That. He's Mine. You may have had him once. I was in high school, so it's fine. Like, it didn't matter to me then. But now,
I cannot.
but now at 39, I will cut you. Just know I will cut you.
Listen, don't make me.
Yeah. Don't make me.
Yeah,
exactly. So see, yep, they do go together.
They go real good together.
So y'all listen, just because that's my song for the week, don't be fooled. Okay. All right. Don't play about mine. Anyway. Anywho, so now that you shared your musical choices, tell us a little bit about why you got into real estate.
I originally got into real estate because of how my transaction went with purchasing my first home. I purchased my first home at 30, but when I thought about it, I really wanted to purchase earlier than 30. I just didn't know where to start. So once I had finished with my transaction, and I received the keys to my home, I was like, oh yeah, I toggled with the thought of becoming a real estate agent. Yeah, I want to become a real estate agent. It was something in the back of my mind, and I always put it on hold because I just thought that it would take much more than what it took for me to get my real estate license.
Okay.
So my own transaction and how I felt after the transaction inspired me to become a real estate agent because I decided that, I wanted to help other people realize the dream of home ownership and help them through the process.
Okay. All right. So I know before I purchased mine, I used to read online about the debates between renting versus owning. So in your opinion, why should people opt to buy over rent, and specifically why should Black people opt to buy versus rent? And are there situations where one is I guess a better option than the other?
So for me, I feel like the option of buying versus renting is kind of reparations for me. People, fought for us to have the ability to purchase homes, to have the right to purchase, to have home ownership. And so, if you take it back systematically, we as people of color, have always been systematiclining eliminated from a lot of things. True. And home ownership being one of them. When you look at redlining, with just lending, we've been subjected to being excluded from being able to qualify for certain things. So I'm always pushing home ownership. Whenever someone comes to me and says, I want to rent, I always say, why do you want to rent versus buy? And the first thing that they say to me is, well, I'm trying to get my credit together. And I'm like, so you really don't know what you qualify for at this time and if it's within the range that you really want. Because they just think if I get my credit to a certain score, I'm going to be able to get whatever it is that I want. And it doesn't. That is not the determining factor. It's a determining factor, but there's so many determining factors in home ownership that we just are not educated about.
Right.
And so I always told them, let's talk to a lender first, when it comes to, when they want to start the process. Like that's the first question I ask. I always say, why do you want to rent versus buy? Because also renting, what I am seeing is a lot sometimes more expensive on the front. Let me say this. Renting, you could purchase a home and have a mortgage of $1,700, or you could rent a house for $2,500. Now, granted, the house that you rent for $2,500 may be better than the house that you rent for $1,700, but at $1,700, you're building your own equity, and you can use that as a stepping stone to get that house that is going to cost you $2,500.
Right. And I would say for me, not being a real estate agent, it's a sense of peace because can't nobody make me leave. So, if you rent a house from someone, if that person decides, oh, I want to come back, you got to go.
Right.
Or if they decide I fell on hard times and I need to sell, you got to go.
Right.
That's it. Even if you're renting an apartment, stuff breaks. If it's, I know the issue I had in my apartment before was it was remodeled, air quotes, but it was a crappy job. And so after a year or so, stuff was breaking and falling apart or whatever, but I was stuck. It was nothing I could do about it. I ain't own it. And so it was either leave and go pay no security deposit and then rent somewhere else and then make someone else rich. So, just speaking as an owner, it gives me peace of mind.
Yeah.
To be able to have my own stuff.
It's yours. You can do what you want to do to it. If you want to paint the walls black, you can paint the walls black. And when you want to sell, you don't have to paint them back. The other thing is this. I love this word, leverage. Owning gives you leverage. When you're renting, you're giving the owner leverage over you.
Right.
When you're renting, when you're in a locked-in mortgage, we're not going to talk about an adjustable rate mortgage, but when you have an FHA or a conventional loan with a locked-in interest rate, you know what your mortgage is going to be.
Right.
Right? This year your rent might be $1,200. Next year your rent might be $1,450. They have guidelines on how they can increase your rent,
and you're not getting anything for it. Because I used to be like, so you jacked my rent up by $70. Did you add square footage? Did you remodel anything? Like, it's the same old place, same old, but you're charging me more. Why? Because you feel like it? Because you can?
It's called market rent, and so they have the leverage, so they capitalize on us. And what I'm also seeing is that a lot of investors, they don't live in the area. They live Connecticut, New Jersey, New York, and they own property in the DMV area. Right?
It's cheaper for them.
It's cheaper for them,
but still profitable.
Very profitable. Because think about this: you could have a 2-bedroom. Let's just go from a previous person that I had, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, right? And this person is paying $1,700 a month for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. I helped them find a home of their own for under $1,500.
Wow.
3-bedroom.
Wow.
2-bath, 3-level townhouse.
Okay.
There, you have programs out there that will give you down payment assistance. And so for me, that was important to help them realize, listen, if you renew your lease, you're paying $1,700, $1,800 for a place that's less square footage than if you owned your own. Now, granted, it may not be your forever home. It may not be in the neighborhood. It doesn't have to be in your dream neighborhood, but it can be in the neighborhood where you're comfortable living for 3 to 5 years, build some equity, and then you can either be the landlord and rent, or you can sell and draw your equity and purchase the home, once you have better credit and things like that.
Now, that is a question. You bring up a good point. Do you recommend that people purchase starter homes, or should they go ahead and try to purchase their forever home?
So this is where I tell people you have to live within your means. A lot of times people say, I don't want to purchase until I can get what I want. But I can tell you this. When I purchased my first home, I just knew it had everything that I wanted in it. But as you grow, your style changes, right? And there's something that you might want in your home that you didn't think about that you needed in your home when you purchased your first home. So I always tell people
things that you don't need anymore.
Right. You can either need to downsize or you need to upgrade. But we think when we're ready to move into our home, it's going to be our forever home, because most people, they hate moving, right? I know you hate moving. And so if you're one of those people, it's like, listen, I want to get this, and this, right? But you might can't afford that. And then what happens is you're trying to keep up with the Jones and you want all of these things in your home, and now you've created an added stress, or you've created a financial strain. Right? Whereas if you got a starter home
Mm-hmm.
and you put a plan together, just like if you came to me and you said you wanted to rent, and I said, listen, I don't think it's a good idea to rent, but let's start out with your starter home and let's put a plan together. And if I can help you dream and see that vision, and as your realtor, we keep in constant contact, and we're creating a vision board for what your next step is going to be, right? That's how I encourage my buyers, especially my new buyers, my younger buyers. I had a couple today, actually. They wanted to rent, right? And the reason they wanted to rent is because they weren't sure what area they wanted to live in right now.
Okay.
They are fresh out of college, and they just didn't know. And I said, okay, and this is they're a boyfriend, girlfriend. They wanted to rent just to kind of see how it is to live with their partner, right?
I can dig that.
I said, listen, I'm okay with that. But listen, just because I got you in this rental doesn't mean that we're losing touch. Because the goal is home ownership.
Right.
The goal is home ownership. If we are going to build our communities, we have to do it one stepping stone at a time. The person that they rent it from, they're a minority owner. However, they're not black. I'm going to say that they're not black.
But they say just because they're your skin folk don't mean that you're
kinfolk.
Okay. Right. Yeah, I know about that.
And they had a couple of buildings in this area. So it was a townhouse condo community, and they had several units. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, they just bought the block. They bought the block.
Wow.
And they're renting. And what they're renting for?
Yeah, they're making a killing, I'm sure.
They're making a killing. Because when I did the math and I looked at the property tax records and things like that, you can kind of, once you've been in real estate for a while, you can kind of look at, what the mortgage may or may not be. And I'm thinking to myself, what they did was they had a distressed homeowner. They paid cash for the property, and now they're renting it out. They had a long-term tenant before the tenants that I just put in there. So they got extra cash flow. They've got consistent cash flow. What we're paying in rent, we could be putting into mortgage and building our generational wealth. You're paying $2,000 in rent. They are maybe paying $1,000 to $1,500. They're making a $500 to $1,000 profit off you every month.
My God.
And if you're taking care of the property, guess what? That's low overhead for them. That's low overhead. He told me today I had to do very little to this property. It looked like it was a brand new property to me. He said I had to do very little to this property. He really took good care of this property. And then the guy that moved out of the place moved to a single family home. So he also has single family homes around the county as well. So we've got to get in that mindset. Like, listen, we need to buy the block and we need to have them running from us.
Right. And especially like you were saying with the starter home, you can use that either as a bargaining chip for your next home or rent it to create wealth for yourself and your family.
Definitely for your family.
And we don't talk about that.
You do know what our Caucasian counterparts are doing, right? They're buying property. They're giving it to their son or daughter as a gift when they get married. And all they're doing is paying taxes on it. I actually saw this in Charles County. A younger couple had a really nice piece of property, and they probably were gifted the property.
Right. And they get to sell it free and clear if they ever want to.
Yes.
Or rent it out and make money on it. And that's free and clear money.
And then they take that money and get their forever home. So that's why we need to start thinking in a generational mindset. I'm planning on, hey, my property is going to my children and my grandchildren. And if, they want to use that as a stepping stone as, hey, we're going to live here. And then we're going to take the proceeds and move on to our forever property. Then I'm okay with that. But we need to start thinking on the level of increase, not material things, but what is going to yield us equity and yield us proceeds that we can then in turn pull from and reinvest.
Right. And this goes back to what I always say, when people say, oh, we've had a black president, everything is equal now. Y'all need to pull yourself up by the bootstraps. We ain't have boots until like maybe 20 years ago. So I don't want to hear that.
Exactly.
So like you said, all of these tips and tricks that, you're giving us and that we're finally learning now, we didn't know any of this. Mm-hmm. Our parents didn't know any of this, or if they did know, they did not have access to these things.
Yep.
So here we are, I feel like we're in the first generation to really kind of be
talking money.
Right, but deliberate about it, about doing it. And, entrepreneurship and homeownership and investment properties and stuff like that, we have to be more diligent about it and share that knowledge with each other, which is why I had you on the show. And I wanted to do this series because I want people to understand the freedom of property ownership. Mm-hmm. So my next question for you would be, is there such thing as a right time to buy a home? Like, should we be looking at interest rates? Should we be looking at times of the year? Should we be looking at, and so it's a two-parter. So externally, is there a right time to buy a home?
Right now.
And then internally, like, where should our income be? Our credit, our, overall financial situation or what have you? How stable should we be in our job? So it's kind of both sides of the coin. So
yep. So right now is the time to buy, whether you have good credit, bad credit. You
mean right now, like as in literally right now, or right now?
Right now, the interest rates. Let's just talk about this. The interest rates where they are, and when I last checked them on Friday, I didn't have the chance to check them today. But when I checked them on Friday, the interest rates on September 25th last year was 4.88 last year. This year, it was 2.97.
Wow.
Now, that's for someone who has outstanding credit, right?
Okay.
So, for someone who has what I call criminal credit, which is that real bad credit. Like, when you use the term criminal, you're like, oh, wow, they really must be bad, right? Just think about this. If you had really bad credit and you got a 6 to 8% interest rate, that's still great. Because when I bought my house 10 years ago, I got a 5% interest rate.
Okay.
And I had okay credit. Okay. Like, I had the minimum required credit score to purchase a home. And I got a 5% interest rate, right?
Okay.
So just think about if I had outstanding credit.
Yeah, you'd have been like around 2%, something
right.
like that.
So when I refinanced, I was really happy. When the market started, when the interest rates started going down, I decided that I was going to refinance. I saved $600
a month.
Wow. $600 a month.
That's a lot.
On my mortgage. So, a lot of people are like, a 0.5% or 2% is not a lot. Let me tell you something.
Yes, it is.
Let me tell you something. I saved $600 on my mortgage. I don't know about you, but I know what I can do with $600 a month.
Right. That's savings. That's a bill. That's a lot of money.
If you have debt, that's $600 towards your debt that you could pay off. Mm-hmm. You understand what that means? Mm-hmm. So I say now is the time to buy, because even if you're not thinking about it or you were putting it off for a year, now is the time to start talking to a realtor. Excuse me. It's now is the time to start talking to a lender to see what you qualify for. Now, if you're not completely ready, so the second part of your question, if you're not completely ready, if you don't have a savings, if you just aren't ready to buy, you still need to be talking to a lender.
That was my question. So should we deem ourselves not ready? Because I think that's what we do.
That's what we do.
We feel like, oh, I only got a 520 and I don't really have no savings, so I'm not ready. But we should be letting someone else tell us that we're not ready.
Yes.
But you could be ready, or you could be on the cusp of being ready.
We tell ourselves, we deny ourselves all the time. We tell ourselves, no, because we think we don't measure up, right? But what is measuring up? Because we're measuring against somebody else's success. Stop measuring yourself against what somebody else has, because understand this: if you just say I can do this, and you go and you talk to a lender, that's the other thing. We are so ashamed because we've gotten ourselves into so many financial binds. We're ashamed of, oh, well, I'm not going to talk to a lender, or I'm not going to talk to a real estate agent until I get my credit at least to this. We're ashamed.
And it's talking about credit it's tough.
It's a hard conversation.
I didn't want to do it.
It's
I didn't
a
want to
hard
talk to nobody
conversation.
about it. I don't want you to know my number. It's like hiding your weight on the scale. Like, nah, chief, you ain't gonna know what this is over here. But not talking about it was to my detriment.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't able to fix it.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a credit person. So it's like, I'm not going to apply for this thing until I can fix it. But then, Jeray, you ain't know how to fix it. So I had to figure out how to fix it. And then I had to actually do it in order to get it to a place where, now it's better. I can talk about it now.
But here's the question. So let me ask you this. Do you fix your own car?
Not at all. Won't even try it.
Okay. Do you fix your own plumbing?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So you go to an expert, right?
Exactly.
Or you ask someone to point you in the right direction of an expert, right? So that's what I tell everybody. Listen, if you want to purchase a home, the first thing you need to do is you need to seek a realtor. And the realtor may say, hey, listen, we can't work together until you've talked to a lender. They're not denying you, saying that they don't want to work with you. But here's the thing. You're a stronger buyer once you've talked to the lender and you know where you stand. So they want to direct you to the lender so that they can give you what they call a pre-approval, not a pre-qualification. Two totally different things.
Okay. We're going to get into that in a second.
Okay.
We're going to get into that.
Yeah. So they want to direct you. They want to direct you to the lender. So the lender is the expert. The lender is going to say, hey, Jeray, listen, let me see all of your documents, and then I'm going to tell you where you stand in this market and what you qualify for. Okay. And sometimes it's a harsh reality because it's like, oh, I really need to get my stuff together. And sometimes it's, oh, I thought I was further off than what I imagined. Like, that's what happened to me. I just happened to say, I woke up one morning right after Thanksgiving and said, I want to purchase a home. And I thought that I was far off. And actually, I was really close.
Okay.
I was really close. But had I talked myself out of it, I don't think that I would have purchased my home 10 years ago. I probably would have just been purchasing now. Because I thought that I was not qualified. And that's what happens. We disqualify ourselves based on what somebody else has or what somebody else is doing or what somebody else is telling us, and it's not an expert.
And so with that being said, we've talked about credit and savings and stuff like that. Employment. Right. So do you have to have been on your job for a certain amount of time? Do you have to have a certain type of job? Like, how much money should you technically roundabout be making before you kind of actually say, okay, I feel like I can buy now, or does it not matter?
It depends on what you want to purchase. Do you want to purchase a condo? Do you want to purchase a townhome? Do you want to purchase a single family? What is the price point that you're looking at? That matters. So what you want to purchase dictates how much money you need to be making and how much money you bring to the table. So I've worked with buyers who've worked at Costco. Some people feel like, oh, well, I work in retail, or I work at a fast food restaurant. But you may have a lot of savings.
Because income is income is income.
Income is income. So there's a whole formula that the lender puts together to say, okay, if you want a $250,000 house, this is how much income you have to make, or you need a cosigner, just like with a car, because with the house, you can also have a cosigner, right? Or a co-buyer, same thing.
That's another thing that we don't do in our community.
We don't help each other.
That our Caucasian counterparts do. they will co-sign or be co-owners for their kids to have houses all the time. And I tell this story all the time. Probably, maybe 10 years ago, they refabbed some townhouses out near where I used to live in Laurel. And I went to go look at them. I was out riding around when they went to go look at them. And those townhouses, they were small, but they were like $97,000, right? I was 29. And at 29, to me, because I think this was a little bit before you bought yours, buying a house in my 20s felt like a very adult thing to do. Back then, it might have changed now, because I think people are buying houses younger. Some people. But it felt very, very adult, and I was very scared about it, and no one had really talked to me about it. And I went to go look at them, and I told my dad, I was like, oh, Dad, I went to go look at these houses today. They was really cheap, because I knew it was good, because the price only had 2 numbers in front of the comma, not 3. And I knew enough at that point. I was like, it ain't one something, so this is probably really good. My mortgage probably would have been, I don't know, like super cheap. I think at the time I was paying maybe $1,100 in rent.
Yeah.
And my dad said to me, well, if you want me to, we can go look at them and maybe I can co-sign for you. And I did not take him up on his offer because I was scared. And it wasn't something that I felt was attainable to me. And I didn't do it. And I kick myself in my ass every day, because that would have been a property. I would have never given up that property ever. You know, it was a little 2-bedroom, 2-level little condo situation. I'd have been renting that out right now. Imagine where I would be.
You could be renting that out, or let me just tell you this. The market value of that is probably, you said it was less than $100,000?
Yeah, it was like $97,000.
Okay. You're probably looking at about a $250,000 home right now, as it being its market value, right? And I tell you that because something that I was on a call last week, and we were learning about what's going on in the county, right? And just kind of what the market is looking like, what's coming to the area, and things like that. And the presenter said we get in the game late.
Yes.
We get in the game late. We're getting in the game at 30, 35, and our Caucasian counterparts have been in the game since they were 23.
Yes. And for those that don't know, we are in the DMV area, so we're in Prince George's County, because I know we have people that are listening from around the country. So just wanted to put that out there for where we are.
Yeah, we get in the game real late. And so I'm thinking, okay, I bought my house 10 years ago when I was 30. I'm 40, and I'm looking at the equity in my house right now, and I'm now taking the equity and doing things to my home, right? If I would have gotten in the game 5 years earlier, what would that equity look like? So I talked to a counterpart of mine who who does real estate as well, and he's 30. He brought his first home when he was 25.
Wow.
The house was 90-something thousand. He told me he purchased it for $105,000. He offered them $6,000. So it was $99,000. He offered them $105,000, which was $6,000 over market price, right? His house he could sell today for $250,000. That's what I'm telling you.
Wow, that's double.
It's in Upper Marlboro.
Oh, wow. Popular area.
In a really nice area where everybody wants to live. Okay? He paid $105,000, and it's worth right now $250,000.
My goodness.
He's got $145,000 worth of equity at 30 years old.
In just 5 years.
In just 5 years, wow. Because he purchased in that area. When he's looking at the people his age, they're just now trying to buy. Like me, I bought at 30.
Right.
So when you look at it like that and you quantify it like that, I'm not saying hurry up and get in the game if you're not qualified to get in the game. What I am saying is start thinking about getting in the game.
Get yourself together. Not even thinking, doing.
Get
because I've been
yourself in
thinking
the
about
game.
it for a while, but I didn't start doing the work until much later.
So don't say you need to get in the game because everybody is doing it. Say you need to get in the game because you need to build your generational wealth and you want life to look differently, right? Let's stop buying materials and let's start buying property.
Right. Because, one thing that I've noticed about material things, dealing with this coronavirus has evened the playing field for everybody.
Yes.
Because if you've noticed, and I said to you, when you go to the store now, everybody be in the store in slides and leggings. Like all that material stuff doesn't matter. I haven't worn anything of value in the last 6 months.
I haven't.
Because where am I going? I'm
Nowhere.
not going nowhere.
Store.
What am I buying stuff for? For what? So at this point, and it really has put life in perspective for me. And once you start the process to buy a home, and once you purchase it, that stuff just doesn't seem as important. Like everything I buy now is for the house. Like it's not clothes and bags and shoes and all that kind of stuff. It's like furniture.
But you're still a diva.
And dishes. I try. But
you're still a diva and you still gonna be cute.
But I do it on a budget. Right.
Right.
And, but my Amazon cart is full of furniture and dishes and housewares and stuff because that becomes more important to you.
Absolutely.
And we do have to get out of the mindset of buying things that don't appreciate in value. But again, that goes back to the system that we were forced to be raised in or that we came up in because we didn't have anything for so long. So when we finally got a little bit of scratch, we
want everything.
I want everything.
We want everything. But that's what they've tricked us to believe. Hey, listen, you want everything. So you're buying high-end products, right? That you can't afford. You can't afford. And while you have your eye on this nice, shiny object over here, they're buying the block over there.
Yep. Because it's like, my mom used to say, you would ride through these nice neighborhoods and you're going to see cars that are 5 and 6 years old out front. You're going to see, a late model, Honda. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But you go to these apartment complexes and you see, the fresh 2019 Benz parked outside. Get your life.
And I'm opening my car door and banging your Benz door.
Exactly. Because let me tell you something. I am that person. I am that person. Like I've come up a little bit. I finally was able to get, the car that I really wanted. But when I had my Honda Elantra, yes, I would bang your BMW doors right next to you because I didn't get it.
Right, be careful. Somebody gonna come looking for you.
But I say all that to say, we have to start really prioritizing what's important.
Yep.
All that other stuff is not important. Like I said, you parking that, that shiny new truck in front of that apartment building, you could have took that because that's not wealth. You can't leave that car to your kid.
You cannot.
It's not going to happen.
Especially if you owe a car note on it, they looking for it.
Yeah.
When you're gone, they coming to look for their car. They coming to look for their car.
That's how that goes, So another question I wanted to ask was, what is the difference now that we're talking about equity and stuff like that? What is the difference between a buyer's market and a seller's market? And should that affect when we make a purchase or does it make a difference?
So in the normal realm of things, when we talk, when we're purchasing things, you want to buy low and sell high, right? But if you're in the market of looking for a property, now is a good time. Well, let's go back to talking about what's a buyer's market, what's a seller's market, like you said. So a buyer's market is when the prices are low and the inventory is high.
Okay. Excess in inventory.
Yep.
With good prices.
A seller's market is when the inventory, the purchase inventory is low and they're selling high.
Got it.
Right now it's a seller's market. People are paying $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 over asking price for homes because it's so competitive out there.
I can see that because I know around here I'm seeing these new neighborhoods popping up like every day and they selling out. And I'm like, who is buying all? I mean, I did, but who else is buying all of these houses? But they going like hotcakes.
Because everybody wants the new shiny thing. Mm-hmm. Nobody, but here's the thing. There are some gems out there, pre-owned homes.
They are, but they're not staying on the market long either.
They're not staying on the market long either. And so here's the thing. It's a give and a take. You can buy a new build, right? But you've got to wait for it to be delivered. You've got to wait. And when I say delivered, you've got to wait for it to be built. Mm-hmm. You've got to wait for it to pass inspection. You've got to wait for everything. You're building it from scratch.
Yeah. And side note, we're going to get into that on next week's episode a little bit deeper. But
yeah. Yes. So you got to wait for that. Whereas if you buy something that is already built and it's move-in ready, it's grab and go. Mm-hmm. I'm grabbing this and I'm going within 30 days. Listen, I'm moving in within 30 days. That's how people are thinking about it. So it's all a preference thing. Some people want the new shiny thing and some people want, hey, I want grab and go. And grab and go can be new and shiny too, though. Mm-hmm. Grab and go can be new and shiny. Mm-hmm.
I've noticed that too when we were looking. A lot of the older homes, the owners have really stepped their game up about putting in work. Whereas I noticed that maybe a decade ago, they weren't. They was just kind of selling it, old countertops and all. And people were buying it. Right. But it was what it was. But now every house that I've seen on the market that's pre-existing, mm-hmm. they have brand new kitchens, brand new bathrooms, additions to the home. And the houses that don't usually are the ones that are on the market longer unless they find the buyer that wants to do a rehab.
Right. So I was getting ready to say, a buyer that I had back in April, May, June, she wanted to do her own rehabs. Like the house that she purchased was already rehabbed. She tore it all up and put her own in there. But here's the thing. And she was like, listen, I'm getting a steal. Mm-hmm. I still want to put my own personal touch on it. So yeah, the person selling the home may have did all of this, but I still want to make it my own. And I can see the vision in this home. So I'm going to purchase it and I'm going to take this backsplash out, put that backsplash in. I don't want these floors. They can have them. I know they new in here and they probably going to be like, dang, she's doing remodeling on a home that was already remodeled. Mm-hmm. So it's all, again, a preference thing, but it was still a value to her and it was a profit for her. Like it was a steal for her. Mm-hmm. So, hey, you could go into a newly remodeled home and still do some remodeling.
Yeah, I'm not about that life though. No. I want it done. I don't, but that's, you don't
want the hassle. It's all a preference. Like I thought that I wanted to do that, and now I'm just like, no, I wish I would have done that 10 years ago. So now I'm doing it. Mm-hmm. So it's all in a preference. Like I'm like, yeah.
But now you can piecemeal it too.
You can,
because I also know that there's differences in homes that are rehabs. Some of them you can live in them while you do remodelings, and then mm-hmm. I've seen some that are just toe up.
Right.
Like, you ain't gonna be able to live there for another 2 or 3 months.
Absolutely.
Until you get all of that together.
Yep.
So what about, we talked earlier about pre-qualification mm-hmm. and pre-approval. What are the differences between the two?
A pre-qualification is a conversation.
That's it? Okay.
Yeah, it's a conversation. A pre-approval is documentation.
So there's no paperwork with the pre-qualification?
No, it's Jeray. Okay, I can say, okay, Jeray, how much money do you make? Okay, $30,000. Jeray, how much debt do you have? Okay, $4,000. Jeray, how long you been on your job? 2 years. Oh, okay. Well, based on everything that you told me, it looks like you might qualify for this $250,000 worth of a home, right? Uh-huh. Now, that's a pre-qualification. A pre-approval is Jeray. I'm going to need to see your pay stubs. I'm going to need to see your bank statements. I'm going to need to pull your credit. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to need to get a employment verification. Can you send me the information so that I can do an employment verification for your job? I'm going to package all of that together. I'm going to put it in this little system, and it's going to say, hey, based on everything that has come out of this, Jeray definitely qualifies for this.
And so a pre-qualification, does that kind of, for lack of a better term, buy you the right to start working with a real estate agent, or no?
I'm going to say not me.
Okay. Well, damn.
Because the pre-qualification, you don't have that piece of paper. When you're going to put an offer on a house, you need to submit that, because that shows that you're a strong buyer and you're serious about buying, that you're just not wasting their time. Okay. So with the pre-qualification, you don't have anything. Mm-hmm. You just got a conversation.
So pre-qualification basically means that when I'm on Zillow, I know what to put in my search bracket.
That's what it is. Y'all playing on Zillow with the mortgage calculator. Yes.
Okay. Shout out to Zillow. You should sponsor this podcast.
No.
But, I'm going to tag them in it when I post it.
Look, I
mean. But yeah, so it's like when I'm looking online for stuff, when I do the little mortgage calculator or they ask me for my little search qualification, I'm not looking for a $400,000 house. The pre-qualification was like, you probably going to qualify between $250 and $300.
Right.
So I'm not looking for when I'm riding around looking at new homes, I know what neighborhoods not to drive through, because I'm probably not going to be able to afford that.
You might say you're not going to look at that, but there are people who want to see, I know I only qualify for $350, but I want to see this $450,000 house. Sir, ma'am, that's $100,000 over what you qualify for. We are not going there. Mm-hmm. We're not. The reason we're not going there is because it's a waste of your time, it's a waste of their time, and it's a waste of my time.
And you get your hopes up. I do know.
You do.
Yeah.
And then you know what that does? Oh, I don't qualify. They drop out of the process. Mm-hmm. And then they're like, oh, I'm going to get my stuff together. No, we're not doing that. Listen, I'm not putting you in the car, and we are not going to see anything that lender, whatever is on that paper that lender gives you, that's what we're going to see. We are not going to see anything over that. And especially in a seller's market, you don't want to go see something that you don't qualify for, because what if you got to offer more money? What if you have to offer more money in order to make your offer stronger than the next buyer?
Okay.
So those are the kinds of conversations that you have to have with your buyers. Like, it's a real hard conversation, and that's why you got to have somebody that you trust. Mm-hmm. Somebody that you trust that is going to be real with you and tell you, like, listen, if, I know you like this $450,000 home, and I know that they said that you qualify for $500,000. I'm sorry. Let's say you qualify for $450 and you're looking at $450, right? Let's look at $400, because if you got to offer $30,000 over, if you already at the $450 threshold, you don't have anything else to give. Right. You're getting blood from a turnip. And that's the other thing. Just because you qualify for $450 doesn't mean that you want to go buy at $450, because what does that mortgage look like?
Yeah, I was going to say, I know that the most important number is the mortgage payment. It's not really the big number.
Right.
It's the smaller number.
It's the smaller it's
what it breaks down to.
With the interest rate, whatever your purchase price is, at your interest rate, what kind of mortgage is that going to get you? Mm-hmm. Okay? Because I'm always telling them, hey, listen, what are you comfortable with paying per month? And then that's what you need to tell your lender.
And you kind of calculate it in reverse.
Right. Mm-hmm. Because if you're only comfortable, if you tell me, hey, listen, I don't want to pay over $2,000 a month. Right? Mm-hmm. I'm not taking you to see a $300,000 house. Unless you got a 0 or 1% or 2% interest rate, that's not going to work for you.
Okay.
That's not going to work for you. So we talk to the lender and we say, hey, listen, my client is comfortable with paying $2,000 a month. What does that look like in purchase power? Mm-hmm. At a 2% interest rate, a 3% interest rate, a 4% interest rate.
And it's shocking. You think that $2,500 a month is going to get you, what you want. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you're shocked at that number. You know what I'm saying? So like
Well,
you said, $2,000 a month. I'm thinking I can afford, a $400,000 house, because we don't know, right? As a buyer, you don't know those things. And then, you get shocked and you're like, oh no, your 2,000 is like 325, 350 or whatever.
Yeah, it's roughly about 350 in the market right now. Let's just say if you had a $360,000 house and you were at a 5% interest rate, you're looking at about $2,600. That's just rough numbers, right? Off the top of my head. So if you know that and again, that's at 5% interest rate. If your interest rate is lower, you can get a $360,000 house.
I'm gonna tell you what else is shocking. Shocking is hearing the number that you get approved for, and then going to go look at what is available
with the buying power.
Within that, it's a slap in the face sometimes. Because you're expecting more, and you scrolling through like I don't, or not even scrolling through when your realtor sends you stuff, you be like, that ain't
like, why are you sending this to me? And I'm like, I'm sending it to you because it's within your budget.
And you like, but it don't have, and that ain't really,
And that's why you need to have your absolute. These are the must-haves, and these are the things that if I didn't get them, I'm okay with. And that's why you need to be comfortable with knowing this is your stepping stone and not your forever home or your dream home.
That is.
It's kind of like when you go into the job market. Do you go into your job being a CEO when you first come out of college?
No.
Exactly. So it's kind of that, listen, buying a home is a stepping stone, just like should be a stepping stone. If you can't afford the high end, then you get in where you fit in.
And so I know there are a lot of programs out there, and I know different states or counties or cities or municipalities have different programs. You recommend those, right?
Yes. So when you talk to the lender is going to tell you, I always say, can you let them know whatever down payment assistance program they qualify for? There are so many programs. There's so many programs, and you just need, depending on the need basis of the buyer, is the way that you direct them. And the lender has the skill to do that. Like finance, I know a little bit about finance, but that's not my lane. So I always tell them, hey, there's a checklist that I have when I meet with my buyers. And I'm like, okay. And when I send them to a lender, I'm like, hey, they're interested in a down payment assistance program. They work here. They do this. They do that. Can you pull all of the down payment assistance programs that they may qualify based on their income? Listen, I'm telling them everything. It's like, you know how you fill out the affirmative action papers, right? I'm like, listen, qualify them based on race, age, income, occupation, if they're military. Like, I'm like, look, check all the boxes, because I need to know what they qualify for, especially if they're going to need down payment assistance and they're rely on a down payment assistance, because sometimes the county programs, the county municipalities, they run out of money sometimes. So then you're looking at the state programs. So I tell them, look at all the programs.
Okay. And what is the difference between, and this might be getting a little bit too into finance, so if it is, let me know, between conventional and like FHA?
Well, the biggest difference is that conventional, you have to put at least 20% down.
Okay.
And you don't have to carry private mortgage insurance, right? With FHA, you have to carry private mortgage insurance, and that can be the difference of that $600 on your mortgage or something like that.
Right. That's that phrase PMI, y'all, that y'all see all the time. There.
Yes, that's
I
PMI.
just want to break it down, because some people, acronyms people don't know.
That's PMI. And so a lot of people, your mortgage is comprised of your payment, your principal, plus your homeowner's insurance, plus you have to have escrow, right? And then if in an FHA loan, you have to have PMI, right? So that's what drives how much you pay per month. And then you also, some people, if you have a homeowners association, that number is plugged into there as well. Woo woo! Shout out to those who don't pay HOA.
Whatever.
That's me.
Whatever. Damn the HOA. But anyway.
So, with that, I can say like, I going into the process as a new home buyer, I didn't know the difference between FHA and conventional.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the lender can explain that to you. And that takes me back to why I became a real estate agent, because I was just like, I just want to buy a house. I didn't know the papers that I was signing. You know, I didn't know FHA conventional. I just was like, I'm a first-time home buyer. That's all I kept screaming. I'm a first-time home buyer. Like, because they tell you first-time home buyers qualify for a lot. I'm like, look, I'm a first-time home buyer. They're like, FHA. I'm like, is that first-time home buyer? Like, that's what I'm screaming the entire time. So these are all the things that we, you know, that you need to be educated on. And that's why, like, you should have a real estate agent that's doing a buyer's consultation with you and explaining what the process is. When you come see me, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to send you to a lender. The lender is going to take all of your financial information and tell you if you qualify now. And if you don't qualify now based on your credit score, because that's the other thing. Now with the pandemic, they raised the minimum qualifying credit score. You know, before, you know, you could have a 620 or 640. They looking at 660 and above now. Right? So you want to make sure, like, you know, you have all of that, but you go see even if you don't have the 660, go talk to the lender, because the lender can say, if you do checklist item 1, 2, 3, 4, in the next 6 months, you can qualify for a loan. So where you thought you had to wait a year, or you thought you might have to wait 2 years and you might got to pay all this stuff off, there's probably only a checklist of 1 to 3 things or 4 things that you might need to do in order to qualify for that home, right? Then after you see the lender, they give you what they call a pre-approval letter. And then you go and you the realtor takes you and they pull all of the properties that you qualify for, right? Based on what you and the realtor talk about.
Then you get to do the fun part.
You get to do the fun. Well, for some, it's fun in the beginning.
It starts off fun.
It starts off fun until you're not getting what you want, right?
Yeah, then you be like me and you crying every day. But
but
fine.
if you have a realtor that's in the trenches with you, yes, I said in the trenches. If you have a realtor that really cares and wants to see you realize your dream, they're going to work for you. They're going to work. They're going to search, and they're going to encourage you, and you're not going to give up, right? There have been people in the home search process for 6 months. Okay, because of the market that we're in. There's not a lot of inventory.
Yeah, y'all. It's not like house hunters, y'all.
It's definitely not like house hunters.
Not.
They make it they make it like it's a seamless process. And the thing is that once you do that, then the next step is, okay, once you find that home, then you start the process of, okay, your realtor should explain what you're going to go through, and you're like you said, you'll probably talk about that in the next segment. But there's a checklist of things that you should be going through. If you're not going through a checklist with your realtor, listen, you need to start asking some questions, because your realtor is basically your guide through the entire process.
And that basically is what we're going to talk about next week. We're going to talk about, choosing the right realtor. We're going to talk about, like you said, everything that happens between the pre-approval and getting your keys.
Yeah, the pre-approval and contract to close. Yep.
Yes, because and sometimes your settlement date is a false alarm. But we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that next week. Because like I said, it feels like the fun part, but sometimes you can go from pre-approval to closing in 30 days, and sometimes, like you said, it's 6 months for a lot of stuff. And so we'll kind of get into the ups and downs, the pitfalls, the things that as a first-time buyer, or because my dad had talked about buying again at one point. My parents bought their house their second home in 1993. It has changed drastically. So if someone is a new home buyer or someone that hasn't bought in 15, 20 years, the process has changed. It's going to be a lot of things that you thought you knew that you really don't know, things that you had no idea would come up. So we're going to get into those nuances next week. Before I ask you this last question, I'm not a realtor. I only know what I know from going through our process that we went through. But the one thing that I will say is, if you have checked your credit score on Credit Karma, forget it. It ain't real. It is a fallacy.
Yes.
It is not. It don't have
Yes.
nothing to do with you buying a house. And I'm not saying that to discourage you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm simply saying that was our experience. You walking around and you like, oh, I got a 620, a 640, 650 on Credit Karma. And then the lender is like, not overshare. That's not, it's a different number. It's a different
I always tell my clients,
process.
if you checking your credit on Credit Karma, just shave 40, 50 points off.
Yeah.
Like I said, listen, I aim to please. And so I'm telling them, like, if I tell you shave 40, 50 off and it really was only 30, I'm winning.
Yeah.
I'm winning, right? Yeah. So I'm like, if you looked on Credit Karma and it told you that you had a 690, boo, you got a 640.
Yeah. Pull your credit report or go to like the MyFICO.
You have my freecreditreport.com.
Mm-hmm.
And forgive me, I have all of these written down because again, that's not my lane, and I don't like to tell people where to go to pull their credit because I always tell them go to the lender.
Yeah.
Right? But at least if you're looking on freecreditreport.com, or if you're going directly to Experian.com and Equifax.com,
or TransUnion or whatever,
go directly to the credit reporting bureaus and pull a credit report, every year, and look directly at the credit bureaus. Because that can tell you where what your debt is. And that's the other thing. You got to be real about where you are in your debt process. Like, people like, oh, I don't have I can come out of this. Well, it's easy to get into debt and very hard to get out. So the thing is this, if you weren't paying those bills, if you weren't paying that debt in a lump sum over the last 5 years, how do you think you're going to come up with that money in the next 6 months?
There you go. Food for thought.
Yeah. So you have to be realistic about your transaction. You have to be realistic about where you stand. And that's why I tell people all the time, another, little caveat that I tell them is, hey, look, I don't look at your credit. I don't want to know your credit. I don't want to know your financial business. I just need to know whether or not you qualify for the home or not. You're giving all of that personal information to the lender. I'm not asking the lender for that information. I'm just asking the lender what's their purchasing power. And so that's why I think that the relationships that I have built as a realtor have been really solid, and my clients trust me even when they have been friends, because I don't know their business. Some people are really skeptical about using a realtor that they know, and it's because they're like, oh, I don't want them in my personal business. Listen, your realtor shouldn't have to be in your personal financial business. The only thing that the lender should be sharing with your realtor is whether or not you qualify
and for how much.
And for how much. Anything else, they really shouldn't have to share with the agent.
And see, that's another thing that goes back to us as a community. Why would we not want to give that money to our friend? Meaning, your real estate agent gets a commission off the sale of your house. It don't come out of your pocket, like you not paying them for that. But why would I not want to give my homeboy or my homegirl some money? Why would I not want to do that? At the time, we went through another family friend who you will meet next week on the podcast when we purchase.
Shout out to him.
But his family got to eat too. So why would I not want my homeboy to eat? I'm going to go out here to a complete stranger. I'm going to get on Google and search realtors and give it to a stranger. You know what I mean? We have to get out of that. And I want you to say it again for the people in the back. Your realtor does not know your financial situation. He or she is not going to be in your business. And I'm saying this correctly, right? They're not going to be all up in
they shouldn't.
Your credit report and all of that.
In my clients that I've had, I have never seen their credit report. I've never seen how much money they made. I've never seen their bank statements. I've never seen any of that. All I know is you qualify for $350,000 and the lender that you're using. That's it. I don't, and that's just, again, that's me. That's me as a realtor. That's my promise to my clients. I'm not digging in your personal business. What I am digging in is, okay, you told me that you only want to pay $2,000. $2,000 means that we're only looking at houses that cost this, based on the interest rate that you've been approved for, right? That's the level of security and the level of integrity that I give to my clients. There are some agents out there that do see that information. And so that may be a question that you ask your realtor, because not all realtors dig that deep. I don't have those. I tell my lenders, I don't want to know that information, because that's the level of confidentiality between you and them, as them being your lending client. My level of confidentiality with them goes to what the purchase price of your home is. And again, that shouldn't be disclosed as well as your realtor. So that's something else. People like, well, they know how much I purchased my home for. Your realtor is client.
But isn't that also public information, though?
It is public information.
Buy your house?
It is
Don't
public
ask me
information.
how I know that, but
it's public information.
You
but
can look
people, see, we have this false sense of, because we're always trying to hide something. We don't want people to know stuff. In the information age, everything is available on the internet, right? But again, client agent confidentiality. We sign an agreement. I have a fiduciary responsibility to you. My responsibility to you is care and confidentiality. You understand? So therefore, your realtor should not be disclosing your business, even if they're a personal friend.
Exactly.
And if they do, if you find out that it gets out, you just report them. So I say that to people, and I say that strongly to the people that I help, that are my friends and my family, because I want you to know, like, your personal business is safe with me. And the only personal business that I'm seeing is how much you're qualifying for, and
with the final purchase price and all that.
Final purchase price. I mean, but it could also go both ways, because you know how much commission I made off of you. So you know how much I'm making.
There you go.
And if you're doing the math, you like, hey, she did like this many clients and made this commission. I know how much money she making. So it kind of goes both ways. So there's a level of trust there. I'm trusting you to know how much money I'm making, and you trusting me to know how much house you're purchasing. But I don't know what your financial situation is. I don't know what debt you got. I don't know if you got any collections. I don't know all of that, because I don't dig that deep for my clients.
Okay.
So we have a level of confidentiality.
So to wrap it all up in a nice little bow, for someone who's listening, who maybe is renting right now, or living at home, or living with family, and let's say they want to purchase in the next 18 months, what are 3 or 4 tips or 3 or 4 things that they should be doing, checking, starting, what have you?
Well, I would first tell them to definitely pull their credit report and see, because sometimes you get blindsided on what's on your credit report, because some things might be there that you might not know that's there. You have a roundabout idea. So first, pull your credit report, right? Go to freecreditreport.com and pull your credit report, and just initially see what's on your credit, right? That gets you going. The other thing is this: connect with a realtor. Connect with a realtor, and I would say interview 2 to 3. I always tell people, at minimum, interview 3 people. Interview 3 realtors, 3 lenders. So number 1 is the credit report. 2 is find a realtor. 3 is have the realtor connect you with the lender. And if the realtor can't connect you with the lender, you go and you interview 3 lenders.
But a realtor should be able to connect you with a lender.
Absolutely.
Like, if they can't, that should be a red flag, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
That's a red flag, because you work with lenders every day.
Okay.
So you should have a list of realtors. I mean, you should have a list of lenders, right? And you should have a list of lenders based on the needs of your clients. Like, I have lenders that deal with people who are self-employed. I have lenders who deal with people that are 1099 employees. I have have lenders that deal with
like challenged
people with credit challenges, right? So you should have a list of vendors that, and vendors meaning lenders, title companies. Your realtor should be your resource, should be your community resource. That's what I say all the time. Realtors are community resources. They should know what's going on in the community, right? So pull your credit report, find a realtor, find a lender, and go from there. Those are the first three things that you need to be doing. Don't count yourself out of the process. And once you find those three things and you talk to the lender, then you can have them pull your credit and tell you what you will qualify for now. And if that's not where you want to be, then tell the lender, hey, but I'm looking to purchase a home at this price point. What do I need to do in order to purchase a home, to qualify to purchase a home at that price point? Right?
Okay.
And that's called putting a plan into action.
Okay. All right. Well, with that being said, like I said earlier, this is a 2-part series, Pathway to Property Ownership. So next week, my guest next week, will be Tyrone Tony.
Shout out to Tony.
Good family friend, excellent realtor as well. So he's going to talk about the process from your pre-approval to when you get to the closing table and get your keys and get to move into your dream home. So for now, Ayanna, please let us know where we can find you so people can reach out to you if they have questions or if they're actually looking for a realtor. How can they get a hold of you?
You can find me on Facebook at Ayanna, AYANNA.realtor. On Instagram, I'm also Ayanna at AYANNA.realtor as well. And you can email me at ayanna.realtor@gmail.com.
And there you have it, guys. Thank you for listening. Make sure you follow the Melanin 360 podcast on Instagram at _Melanin360. And also you can follow me personally on Instagram at IamJorae. That's IamJorae. And we will see y'all next week. Peace.
Peace.
Paving this shit crank.